little Pookoo Ollie made a surprising discovery. His little basket could actually show a clear view of what was underwater, so he sealed up all the gaps with sticks and turned it into a makeshift diving mask. He was ready to explore the mysterious underwater world, but without any way to breathe. He had barely taken a few steps when he started gasping for air. Still, the clever Ollie didn't give up. He used plant stems to build a breathing tube, but the moment he went back in, the tube quickly filled with water. His second attempt failed again, and he ended up choking painfully. This time, he made an even longer breathing tube. Nothing was going to stop him from exploring the world, but as soon as he went underwater, the long tube collapsed. Ollie was once again choking on water. After multiple failures, he still refused to give up. He spotted duckweed floating on the surface and suddenly got an idea. So he built a floating breathing tube with his own hands. And finally, he successfully entered the underwater world. The scenery in front of him was unbelievably beautiful. Layers of aquatic plants were blooming everywhere, lush and vibrant in every direction. Every single moment reshaped Ollie's understanding of the world, especially when an unbelievably beautiful big fish slowly swam up to him. Ollie was completely stunned, but he had no idea that the big fish was actually there to eat him. If his dad hadn't arrived in time, Ollie would have already become its meal. But right after escaping danger, Ollie still didn't realize what had happened. Instead, he excitedly showed off his diving mask to his dad. To calm Ollie's dangerous curiosity, his grandma told him an ancient legend passed down through their family. Long ago, there was a red-leaf wolf living in the forest. It was brutal and cold-blooded, never sparing a single creature, until one day, giant doe appeared in the valley. They were as tall as mountains, like moving orchards. Their backs were covered in endless jewel fruits that never ran out. They also possessed magical bean pods. Just by touching them, animals could transform into any form they wanted, and they could understand every species' language. From that moment on, everyone lived together in peace. But the red-leaf wolf hated this harmony, so it stole Zoe's pods and transformed itself into a fire wolf covered in blazing flames. After that, it killed Fort Zoe and drove the rest out of the forest. It even triggered rock slides to block the rivers, completely sealing the last Zoe away in the valley forever. From then on, animals could no longer communicate. Trust between them completely collapsed. All creatures were forced to live under the fire wolf's reign of terror. The grandma thought this story would scare Ollie, but unexpectedly, it only made him more curious about the world. Ollie had never been afraid of anything since he was little. The only thought in his mind was, the world was so big, he had to see it with his own eyes. One day, Ollie met a young Javan bird. Seeing it starving and weak, kind-hearted Ollie shared his food without hesitation. He even taught the little bird how to crack open the hard shell of a bean. When the crisp beans burst in its mouth, the young Javan bird was overjoyed. It let out a sharp cry toward the sky, but it wasn't gratitude. It was calling its flock. Soon, more and more Javan birds arrived. The newcomers ate the beans and immediately called even more birds. Before long, hundreds and thousands of Javan birds covered the sky. They devoured everything in sight. Generations of the Pookoo family's food storage was completely wiped out. The entire forest became the Javan birds' dining hall.
What have you done?
The Pookoo slowly went from landowners to helpless creatures scavenging leftovers. Eventually, they were forced underground, living in dark and damp places, surviving only on scraps left by the birds. Ollie, once seen as a little hero by his family, became the one who ruined everything. His dad got angry every time he saw him, regretting ever having such a careless son. Ollie also kept blaming himself for not listening to the elders and trusting others too easily. Until he grew up, Ollie ran into that same Javan bird again. The moment he saw it, rage exploded inside him. The Pookoo and the bird immediately fought. In the chaos, Ollie fell into a tree hollow and accidentally touched a magical pod. His mind was filled with thoughts of that Javan bird, and the moment he touched the pod, Ollie transformed into a Javan bird himself. The others saw it and thought Ollie had been eaten. They started throwing stones at him in panic. Just like that, Ollie was forced out of his own tribe and over a cliff. When he woke up, he realized the one who saved him was actually his old enemy, Ivy the Javan bird. Ollie was so shocked he couldn't even speak properly, but Ivy and her two sisters thought he had hit his head too hard. After all, Ivy had been a little too rough while saving him. Ivy wanted to take Ollie back to Bird Mound for treatment, but Ollie just wanted to turn back to normal. So he secretly slipped away from Ivy and went to the river alone. And there, he ran into the boogle fish again, the very same big fish that almost ate him when he was a kid. But now, the boogle fish had a gentle smile on its face. Hearing that Ollie was looking for magic pods, it even happily pointed him in the right direction. It had once seen glowing pods there. Ollie was thrilled and immediately set off. But on the way, Ivy secretly followed him again. Ollie had no choice but to explain. He wasn't really a Javan bird. He was a Pookoo. He had touched a magic pod, and that's why he turned into this. But Ivy didn't believe him. She didn't think pods could change bodies at all. She just thought Ollie had seriously lost his mind. All the way, they kept arguing until they reached a cave by the shore and finally found the glowing magic pod. Ivy rushed forward without hesitation. She wanted to grab it first so she could take Ollie back for treatment.
No, don't touch it!
So you can turn back into a Pookoo, the strange creature you made up so we can get back to Javan Rock.
But thinking about being a Pookoo, the moment she touched the pod, she instantly turned into a Pookoo herself. The two enemies had switched bodies just like that. At that moment, Ivy finally believed what Ollie had said, and she suddenly realized Ollie was the little Pookoo she had fought with just yesterday. They went back to the booglefish again to ask where more magic pods could be found. The booglefish told them it had heard of the Zoe legend. Near the waterfall, there was a Zoe corpse, and there, a large field of magic pods grew. So Ollie and Ivy set off again, but Ollie still wasn't used to the Javan bird body and was too scared to fly. He could only walk slowly toward the waterfall. Unexpectedly, they They ran into the red-leaf wolf on the way. Ollie and Ivy ran desperately, barely surviving each close call. In the end, they were forced to jump off a cliff. At the edge of life and death, Ivy kept directing and encouraging Ollie. Finally, Ollie spread his wings and flew. It was the first time the two enemies truly worked together, and the barriers between them slowly began to melt.
Thanks.
You're welcome. No one's ever thanked me for being pushy before.
Ivy was proud and strong-willed, and she had to care for her younger sisters. Their family was under huge survival pressure. After the zoo left, the Javan birds lost their main food source. They could only survive by digging roots, often starving. They were even close to famine. Luckily, when she was young, Ivy met a kind little Pookoo and discovered a new food source. It saved her entire tribe, but she never knew that little Pookoo was actually Ollie. The next day, they finally reached the waterfall, but it turned out to be the red-leaf wolf's nest. Just as they were worrying how to sneak in, the booble fish showed up again. This kind fish decided to lure the wolves away. It had no friends and just wanted to do something for Ollie and Ivy. Ivy was deeply moved by its sincerity and promised she would bring back a pot for it, so it could become either a Javan bird or a Pookoo, and they could all be friends forever. While the wolves chased after the bubble fish, Ollie and Ivy slipped into the nest, but inside, there was only one magic pot left. The fragile friendship between them immediately cracked again. Ollie wanted to go home to prepare winter food for his family. Ivy worried about whether her sisters had eaten. She also needed enough beans. Finally, Ollie couldn't hold it in anymore and told the truth. The one who helped Ivy back then was him, but the Javan birds later took over the area, and Pookoo food became scarce. They might not survive this winter.
You know, my own father, he won't even look me in the eye. That's all because I trusted you.
Ivy was filled with guilt. She never imagined she had caused Ollie so much pain. But before she could think further, the red-leaf wolf returned. They both shouted Booblefish's name and backed away in panic. They fell at the same time and touched the pot again. A flash of light passed through them, and they both turned into Booblefish.
Ivy, we're fish. Thanks to you, I'm even further away from getting home and saving my village.
Looking at each other, the two fish were full of worry, but the Booblefish suddenly comforted them. It told them there were more magic pods near the dangerous waterfall cliffs, but that place was the most dangerous in the valley. They had to work together to climb it. Ivy finally opened her heart completely. She never forgot the little Pookoo who once helped her, but she never knew how much pain she had caused him. She sincerely apologized to Ollie, and the two finally made peace. They arrived beneath the waterfall, and sure enough, the entire cliff was covered in magic pods, but the current was too strong. No one could climb up alone, so the three friends worked together, side by side. They kicked and swam upward with all their strength. They broke through the first barrier, but a group of green stone bears appeared. They loved eating fish. The three could only dodge desperately, weaving between giant jaws. They barely made it to the second level, but there, the red-leaf wolf pack was already waiting. Just as they were trapped, a young wolf cub fell from above and hung on a branch midair. The wolves rushed to save it. The Booblefish tried to rush forward, but Ollie stopped. Without hesitation, he ran toward the cub. Ivy and the Booblefish had no choice but to help him. After a dangerous rescue, the cub was safely saved. The wolf father said nothing, only looked at Ollie deeply. Before leaving with the pack, the three finally reached the top of the waterfall. Ollie and Ivy returned to their original forms. Now, it was finally the Booblefish's turn to choose what it would become.
Maybe I could just become the fire wolf. Pookoo?
There was never Pookoo. There was only ever me.
But no one expected the truth. The one who had been with them all along, the most trusted, closest friend, was actually the most evil, cruel firewolf in the legend. It had all been a trap from the beginning. Back then, the dying Zoe sealed the firewolf inside the body of a fish using magic pods. And after countless years, the firewolf finally found its chance. It waited for two naive, kind-hearted fools who trusted a so-called friend too easily and even helped it break the seal. The firewolf, now free, completely broke Ollie and Ivy. They froze in terror, unable to believe what they saw. Their most trusted friend was the real demon all along. All hope collapsed instantly. Ollie hated the betrayal and hated the destruction the firewolf brought to the forest even more.
Why? You ruined everything. There was so much peace here. There was peace here and you destroyed it. You caused so much pain.
What about my pain? I was the runt of my litter, so my pack tossed me aside to die. And none of the other creatures wanted me around me. So I promised myself that one day I would burn the valley down, and those who survived would bow down to me.
At that moment, Ivy rushed toward the magic pod. She wanted to become a stronger creature, to fight the firewolf, but she was slammed away by a single bite. The firewolf then burned all remaining pods, destroying them completely.
It's time. The valley was ruled by fear again.
Now free, it would reclaim everything. But Ollie didn't leave Ivy behind. He dragged her injured body step by step toward Bird Mountain. For a whole day and night, he never stopped. Finally, through sheer willpower, he brought Ivy back.
Ivy?
Help her.
When they woke up the next day, they were both safe. They hugged tightly and finally understood true friendship is never limited by race. Even former enemies can still warm each other's hearts. But suddenly, ash began falling from the sky. The firewolf had revealed its true nature. It burned the entire valley. The forest was now in flames, filled with screams and suffering. All life was on the edge of extinction. Ivy finally convinced her tribe. They decided to rescue the trapped animals and lead them across the river to Pookoo Island. It was the only safe place left, but they had no idea how to cross. Before they could figure it out, the red leaf wolf pack appeared again.
Thank you for saving my son. What do you say?
Thank you.
We can help.
But this time, they came to help. With their help, animals crossed the river using floating logs. But when Ollie returned with a large group of animals, especially the Javan birds, his dad nearly collapsed. This kid really won't stop until he gets everyone killed, no matter how hard Ollie explained. His dad refused to trust other tribes, so Ollie told the truth. The terrifying legend was all real. The entire forest was facing an unprecedented crisis. Only by uniting all tribes could they defeat the firewolf.
Dad, I know you're scared, but we have to trust each other.
Only then did his dad finally believe him and accept the other tribes, but the firewolf had already jumped onto the rafts. It would not let them escape. Ollie suddenly remembered that the firewolf had once been sealed by the Zoo, so he returned to the tree hollow, calling out to the Zoo again and again. He hoped a new pod would grow, and then a miracle happened. The dead Zoo actually responded.
So,
So.
it can't be.
Okay, Ollie, we got this.
Ollie? That's our son.
As the firewolf prepared to slaughter everything on the shore, Ollie, transformed into the Zoo, stood in its way. He easily extinguished its flames and knocked it back, but when Ivy flew over with the pod, trying to seal it again, the firewolf suddenly stood up. It burned the pod instantly. It wouldn't fall for the same trick twice. Though the Zoo was massive, it was too slow. It couldn't catch the firewolf. Soon, Ollie was engulfed in flames. It seemed like destruction was the only ending. The firewolf stood above him, eyes full of cold mockery. But suddenly, countless vines burst out from the ground. They wrapped tightly around its limbs and stopped it completely. With his last strength, Ollie smashed the rocks blocking the river and dragged the firewolf into the water. The river flowed back into the forest. Ollie saved the entire valley, protected every life, and restored the home they all fought for. But his figure disappeared forever. Peace returned to the valley. The forest came alive again. The Pookoo and the Javan birds, once bitter enemies, finally let go of hatred and misunderstanding. They lived together in harmony, protecting the home they had nearly lost. Until one day, a new Zoo arrived in the valley, and Ivy froze in shock. On the back of the largest Zoo stood a figure she knew all too well. It was Ollie.